Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For cables, connectors, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by the Ham Station. Get your new radio or antenna by calling 800-729-4373 or go to hamstation.com.
It's Ham Radio.
Good evening, everybody. It's Ham Talk Live, episode number 50. Joe Goes to Xenia. It's a sneak peek at the Hamvention's new home, recorded live on Thursday, February 2nd, 2017. I'm your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight on the show, Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB, the kit building editor at CQ Magazine, is here to talk about his recent trip to the Greene County Fairgrounds in Xenia, Ohio, which is the new home of the Dayton Hamvention. And we'll probably talk some kit building as well. I know he's got a new kit he's excited to talk about, so we'll probably throw in some kit building as well, but we're going to start off with some Hamvention stuff tonight, and we will take your calls. So if you have kit building questions or questions about Hamvention, we'll try to field those as best we can. Again, Joe's not an official spokesperson for the Dayton Amateur Radio Association or anything, but tonight he's just reporting on what he was able to photograph and see and hear last month. So if you have some questions, get those dialing fingers ready. The number is 812-NET-HAM1, 812-638-4261, or you can Skype us. The username is Ham Talk Live. You can also tweet us anytime. You can go ahead and tweet us right now if you want. Our Twitter handle is at Ham Talk Live, and we'll take those calls after we talk to Joe for a while. So after a couple of commercial breaks here and talk to Joe, then we'll let you know when to call in. Last week on the show, astronaut, author, and explorer and builder Richard Gary at W5KWQ was on the show. And he was talking about operating from the International Space Station and his new book, Explore, Create. So if you missed the show, you can listen to that anytime you want, 24/7, 365, on demand at hamtalklive.com, or if you have a podcasting app, we're probably on it. We're on Spreaker, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, TuneIn, just to name a few. And we're also on a YouTube channel, so you can check us out there as well. So, coming up next, Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB, will join us right after this word from the Ham Station right here on Ham Talk Live. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by the Ham Station. For over 37 years, the Ham Station has sold new and used radios, antennas, accessories, and equipment to hams everywhere. Give Dan or Jeff a call at 800-729-4373 or order online at hamstation.com. Ham Station carries all the major brands like ICOM, Yaesu, and Kenwood, and they have a wide selection of of radio scanners, MFJ accessories, Heil sound products, amplifiers by Mirage and Ameritron, Cushcraft antennas, and more. Easy online ordering is at hamstation.com or call 1-800-729-4373 to place an order and talk it over with the experts. The Ham Station, proud to sponsor this episode of Ham Talk Live.
Look for me at Dayton. I'll be the one wearing the Yesu hat. You're listening to Ham Talk Live with Neil Rapp.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. The Ham Station has you covered for both new and used equipment. Give Dan or Jeff a call at 800-729-4373 or go to hamstation.com. Be sure to listen to the show every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time right here on hamtalklive.com, and check out our Facebook page and Twitter feed. Just search for us at Ham Talk Live. Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB, recently returned from to his beloved Nebraska from Xenia, Ohio, where Dayton Hamvention is on the move. Joe is well known for his picture shows of Hamvention, and that gave him a chance to check out the new gigs over at Xenia and hear about some of the planning that's taking place for this year's Hamvention. He is the longtime kit building editor at CQ Magazine and often makes presentations about kit building and offers kit builds at Hamfest, conventions, and club meetings. Joe started ham radio at a very early age and has been licensed since 1969. And he's also very well known for his Dr. Seuss hat that he wears only at Dayton. And he lives in Lincoln, Nebraska, an avid Cornhusker fan. We won't hold that too far against him since you don't play Kentucky, so we'll deal with that. And he works in the IT industry for his day job. So, Joe, thanks for coming on Ham Talk Live tonight, and especially on such short notice. We were kind of holding the spot open here, and I appreciate you coming on short notice tonight.
Well, thank you very much, Neil. And I can tell you the people in Dayton are very, very busy. You'll never see a more dedicated group of people. In fact, having dinner with the general chairman before the club meeting 4 weeks ago, I was astonished at how many texts and phone calls he gets. And he's retired, so his real full-time job is being chairman of Hamvention. And he says it starts when he gets up and it goes till late in the evening that he's getting calls over all different aspects, because he's basically trying to reinvent the biggest ham show in the world in a new place. In past years, it's only been minor changes here and there, and now it's a complete sea change of what it's going to look like.
Now, one year when I was doing my little ham fest down in Evansville, which was nowhere close to Dayton, we had a little mix-up, shall we say, with the fairgrounds people, and they rented our building out. And so we had to change locations, and it was still, the same fairgrounds, but it was different building, different setup. And oh my goodness, it was like starting all over again, because you just got to replan everything and try to make things fit with less room and locate this and locate that and change this traffic pattern and change and oh, it was just like starting all over again. So I can only imagine what they're having to go through, changing things, trying to park everybody on site now, and splitting up into separate buildings, and just all of the things that are going on to make that change, where normally you get into a routine and, people kind of know their jobs and everything's, running fine. You make some little tweaks here and there to improve. And then now all of a sudden all of that's gone. And it's kind of exciting in a way. It's also kind of a downer in a way that, after going for so many years to Hera, it's like, the pattern. You know where you want to go, which places you want to make sure to get to, and you can prioritize things, and you've got this plan.
Well,
now it's all gone.
Yeah, I told them, I said, I can tell somebody on my UHF frequency or on DMR, hey, meet me in front of the Icon booth. Well, everybody knew where that was. It was right across from the prize booth. And now, we don't know where that's going to be. We don't know where anything is. I have been there, and I can tell you that the amount of square footage inside is smaller than what was at Hare Arena. The good news is that the buildings where the forums are much bigger. The rooms are much bigger than what we had at Hare Arena for forums. And we no longer have that room with the partitions that separate it from the exhibit hall, where I had to pretty much yell for everybody to hear over it. All the forums are going to be in heated and air-conditioned buildings, and they're very quiet, and they're completely, absolutely separated from the commercial exhibits. So if you want to attend the seminars, get ready for a nice, comfortable time. Heated, air-conditioned, comfortable, and quiet. And most of the buildings that have the forums have their own restrooms in those buildings as well.
Now, can't hear this, but you just got a standing ovation round of applause from no more dividers in the forum rooms.
Yeah, well, I have to take it back. The two largest forum rooms will have a divider, but it's a lot more soundproof. Okay.
Wow. Okay, we'll take it.
But still, it's heated and air conditioned and more well lit, and the carpet isn't beginning to grow roots and things like that. but
no black mold on the ceiling.
No, it's going to look good. In fact, I made a special slideshow in black and white, did some artistic photography, and I shot it a year ago this month when I was there to do a kit build. A year ago this month, I went over to Hare Arena and I started taking pictures, and I went in and found Karen Wampler, who ran the place. And I asked her if I could just wander around and take pictures. And she asked, why do you want to take pictures now? And I said, well, I just want to document this place. And then she kind of figured out what I was doing. And she asked if I wanted to have the main arena lit up, which was set up for hockey. And I said, sure. And so there's a lot of very artistic photos in this. They were shot in color and then converted manually to black and white. And I had to pay attention to the shading and the contrast and so forth to make it flow. And so there's a lot of artistic photography that's involved in that slideshow. And it's called Wish You Were Here. And it has the theme song from Pink Floyd. But the forum rooms, you're going to love it. 3 of them are pretty close by, and the 4th one is kind of closer to the horse track, but it's also indoors, heated and air conditioned, and a very comfortable building with plenty of room. So I think we're going to have the quietest forum rooms we've ever had at Dayton. The exhibit halls, quite frankly, are not heated or air conditioned, but they're extremely heavily ventilated. And big fans and stuff, something that we did not have at Hare Arena, because at Hare Arena, they could not heat or air condition those buildings. And the reason is that the doors are always open. It could never keep up. So what people don't realize is, for most of the history of Hamvention, it was never heated or air conditioned. People don't realize that. So we're kind of at the mercy of Ohio weather like we were before, but these buildings are very well insulated. And you'll like it. Because the buildings are square, there isn't the hodgepodge that you saw at Hare Arena. There's also a covered walkway between the three largest buildings. So if it's raining, you can walk between them and not have to get wet. However, as in all ham fests, I'd say watch the weather and bring an umbrella if you need. The flea market is going to be, most of it is going to be inside the horse track. And there's an exception. There's a zone kind of near the grandstand area that looks like it, if you look at it on a Google map, it's kind of brown mud. And that's really what it is. It's a mud bog that's used for tractor pulls. And so obviously there's not going to be any tractor pulls, but it's not a place you want to have a flea market table either. But otherwise, the flea market will be pretty similar to what we're used to, but it'll also have a row of tables that goes around the outside of the track, at least most of it, except for the bog area. There's also going to be more entrances to the track than you can see on the Google map, as they make it a lot easier for people to walk and drive in and out of it. But one of the neat innovations that they're going to do to make sure they have enough room for all the inside exhibitors that need it is they're going to have what they call chateau-type tents. I call them wedding tents. They call them chateau tents. But they're very nice, and those will be on concrete. There's a paved parking lot that you can see that's to the south of the main buildings. And that's going to have these chateau tents that have more inside exhibitors. And the inside exhibitors are not only going to be in those three buildings, but there's a fourth building kind of on the lower right if you look at the PDF that they now have on the Hamvention webpage. It has the booth diagram, but it does not have the tent area yet, as they're going to see how many inside exhibitors they have and figure out how much tent space they need. Now, for the flea market vendors, they will also have a new tent area. Now, I don't know if you remember back around 2000 or 2001, they had a tent in the far corner of the flea market.
Yep, and that's where the old Radio Shack As Is place was.
Yeah, and that's going to be where you'll have some inside tent vendors. Now, there were some vendors that came, like those surplus electronics places, that had their own tents, and they will be probably accommodated in that area as well. So there's a grassy area that's also in front of the main buildings between that and the street, and that will be for the flea market tents and the flea market vendors that bring their own tents. So the flea market vendors that need normal stalls will be in the stalled area that's in the horse track. And then there's an area on one edge of the track on the outside of the fence that'll also have flea market stalls. And then there will be this tented area that's immediately adjacent. And there may also be some outside vendors that are in tents or stalls that are between these, because there will be all sorts of spaces. And the big question was food. Is there going to be the beer truck? Yes, there is. They've invited the guy with the cheesecake on a stick.
Yeah, it wouldn't be Hamvention if you didn't have the cheesecake on a stick.
That's right. And
that was the first question was, is the cheesecake on a stick going to be there?
Yeah, and is the beer truck's going to be there? And there'll be at least one beer truck. They also have talked about the fact that there's going to be a large catering type vendor that will be under a large tent serving, as well as some local food trucks. And they said that there will be some healthier eating options, but there's also going to be possibly some fair food as well. And speaking about fair food, when you go to a state fair or a large county fair, how do you get from the parking lot to the fairgrounds, to the gate? It's usually a tractor-pulled wagon, correct?
Well, yeah, I've seen some do that.
Well, that's what's going to happen here. So it'll be like going to our Nebraska State Fair, where you park your car and you jump in the wagon that's being pulled by a big tractor, and it'll take you up to the front gate where you get your tickets.
Very nice.
So that's what they're going to do. They're also going to have many more golf carts than they had before. They're going to have pretty much an army of golf carts to help people out that are having trouble getting around or have boat anchors or things like that, power transformers and so forth that are probably a little more difficult to deal with. And so there will be golf carts. But the nice thing is that you'll be able to ride those wagons out to the parking area and get a lot closer to your car, because this fairgrounds, if you measure the distance from one end to the other, is a little over 1/2 mile from one end to the other. Now, for the bicycle mobile hams, they never had anything near Hare Arena they could do a decent demo. This place has a bike trail that actually bisects part of the fairgrounds, and it continues across the street along a trail as well. So the bicycle mobile people will actually have a great on-site demo area as well.
That's all excellent. I'm glad to hear that those things are coming, and have they given any guarantees about no sewage?
Well, they've kind of talked about that, and it sounds like it's going to be through a combination of things. Number one, the facilities here are much newer. The fairgrounds was pretty much leveled in an EF4 tornado in 2000 and rebuilt in 2001. So most all of the buildings are brand new. And when they did that, they changed the drainage. And that also goes with the drainage from the infield of the horse track where the flea market is, and things like that. And so what they've done is they've taken some of the parking area and made it into a soccer field area during the summer. And so to keep those usable, they obviously have subsurface drainage that they've put in. And the sewage system within the place is also modernized. And they're also talking about bringing in large truck-type washrooms, mobile washrooms. And I've seen that before at other events, and they're very nice. So, So we're hoping everything goes well, and we don't get too much rain, and everybody has a great time. And I'm looking forward to it because it's my 37th.
Very good. Very good. Well, we've been trying to get some dates scheduled here on the show for the Dare folks to come on and take everybody's questions. And we just haven't, they've been busy. We haven't received any response from them yet other than to assure us they're going to come on the show. And so hopefully we'll have them on soon, and then we'll try to get them on again within a few weeks of Hamvention when things are closer to being finalized. I'm sure there's a lot of scrambling going on. And here on Ham Talk Live, we've got 5 weeks of Hamvention coverage, so you'll have to listen to that.
Obviously they have more up-to-date information than I do. Basically, the hints I got when I was there was that what the theme was going to be, which is interesting because I always have a theme as well. As you know, my slideshows, I take a song and it has a theme. And the 2 songs, I'm actually going to do 2 of them this year. One is The Grand Illusion by Styx. And twice or 3 times in the song, it says, deep inside we're all the same. And so when they said it's same friends, new home, I thought, well, this is perfect. It goes with the song. The other song I'm going to use is The Show Must Go On. It'll be a funnier look at people getting around in the new venue. And that's by 3 Dog Night. So you'll dig around that song and you'll say, What is Joe going to do with that? And it's going to be fun. Good. That camera's going to be busy this year, very busy. They've asked me to be part of like the ribbon cutting. They want me to do 2 things. They want me to take a picture of the ribbon cutting and possibly don the hat at that point. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, look,
because this will be the 20th Hamvention that it has been worn.
Hat. Oh, well, look for the donning of the Dr. Seuss hat at this year's Dayton Hamvention, and Like I said, here on the show, we've got 5 weeks of Hamvention preview shows leading up to that weekend of May 19th. So be sure to listen to Ham Talk Live for what's coming up over at Hamvention in Xenia. And we're going to broadcast live again on Hamvention Eve, Thursday, May 18th. That's going to be, again, from the Spring Hill Suites in Miamisburg. So come join us in the live audience if you can. And if you can't, make sure you tune in at hamtalklive.com. And we're going to take a break, but we're going to be back and have some more with Joe Eisenberg and talk some kits right after this message from Tower Electronics here on Ham Talk Live. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you in part by Tower Electronics. Tower Electronics has been the Ham's dime store since 1978. When you need connectors, mobile and handheld antennas, cables, or adapters, visit Scott or Jill at a Hamfest near you. Or you can order online at pl-259.com or call 920-435-2973. Stock up on those supplies like PL259 and N connectors, SMA adapters, audio cables, soldering supplies, mobile antennas, and ham sticks. Their silver-plated N connectors are even used on the International Space Station. Tower Electronics carries MFJ, Comet, Daiwa, OPEC, Workman, and Ham Pro products. And don't miss their 0% off sale going on now. Tower Electronics, online at pl-259.com, proud to sponsor this episode of Ham Talk Live.
Oh, baby. You put a 5-9 in my logbook. Now enjoy more Ham Talk Live.
Join the conversation. Call us on voice with Skype at Ham Talk Live or give us a call at 812-NET-HAM1. That's 812-638-4261. Now, here's more Ham Talk Live.
All right, thanks to Scott and Jill at Tower Electronics for sponsoring the show tonight so we can bring you Ham Talk Live. They're going to be at the Miami Hamboree this weekend in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and next weekend, the Orlando Hamcation. And coming up, Dalton, Georgia, and Cave City, Kentucky. Call 920-435-2973 or visit them at pl-259.com online. And Joe, you're going to be running into them soon.
Yes, I will. I'll be seeing them at the Orlando Hamcation, and I like to put in a plug for them as well because they have some neat low-cost soldering equipment and plugs, jacks, and connectors, which is the thing that I preach the most to have on hand as a kit builder to make sure you're ready to use your kit when it's done. And I rely on Scott and Jill and Tower Electronics for all of my connector needs. So definitely visit Tower Electronics or pl259.com.
Yep, I do as well. They take really good care of me, so we appreciate you guys, and thanks for throwing that in, Joe. Again, that's 920-435-2973 or pl-259.com. Okay, it's time to take some calls, but we didn't talk kits because we got all excited about Hamvention, and we've even got more that we can talk about on Hamvention. But let's take a couple of minutes at least to talk about this this new kit that you want to talk about. And if you want to call in, go ahead and give us a call. It's 812-NET-HAM1, 812-638-4261. You may just have to wait a couple of minutes while we're talking about the Bayou Jumper. So what's a Bayou Jumper?
Well, a Bayou Jumper is kind of an interesting kit. It was partially designed by N5IB from Louisiana, hence the name Bayou. And the transmit part and the integration part of it and the circuit board layout was done by David Kripe, NM0S. And for those of you who don't know him, he's designed a lot of the four-state QRP group's kits. And he is a design engineer for Rockwell Collins Radio in Cedar Rapids. So he knows what he's doing, and he puts together some pretty incredible radios at very low cost. This particular kit fits in a wooden box that you have to buy from Hobby Lobby, and that's bought separately from the kit. You order the kit from the 4-state group, and it does come with 4 blocks of wood that you need to mount the board inside that box. So it does come with that part of it, but you actually need the wooden box itself from Hobby Lobby. And if you go to the 4-state QRP page, which is 4sqrp.com, you can see the number of the box that you need to put together this kit. Now, what it is it's a replica of a World War II paraset. And what these was the originals were a crystal-controlled transmitter and a variable frequency regenerative receiver. Very simple. They were 3-tube sets, and of course they had to be plugged in or used with some heavy batteries. And these were dropped by parachute behind enemy lines for people of the resistance and underground to pick up and use to communicate back to London and so forth. So just before, of course, when our military went into Europe. And so they were by nature very simple transmitters and receivers. They put out about 5 watts, and they had a simple regenerative receiver. Well, this is the same thing except for solid state. So you can run it off of 12 volts. The CW key is built into it just like it was in the original. And you plug in headphones just like the original. And you got to calibrate the dial yourself and make a chart just like the original was, because it is a regenerative receiver. And the knobs and the placement and the way it works is pretty much identical to the way the original worked. It's just with solid state components instead of tubes. So the receiver only draws about 20 milliamps on receive, which is pretty phenomenal. But it draws a lot more than that when you transmit because it's putting out 5 watts. But there's no heat sink or anything because he uses Class E. And there's one toroid to wind, and that's for the regenerative receiver. But there's no toroids to wind for the transmit filters because they are spiral wound coils that are built into the circuit board, already done for you. It's pretty phenomenal. And so the Bayou Jumper has become a great big seller, and any money that's made from that helps to finance Ozarkon, which is the 4-state QRP's annual gathering the first weekend in April in Branson, Missouri. A great place to go.
All right, and we've got a picture of that on our social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So if you want to see a picture of the Bayou Jumper, I know my friend Scott in 4JN was commenting how beautiful that thing was earlier today. So
yeah, the one
check out the picture.
The one I sent is the one I built, and I've yet to sand it and stain it yet. So, of course, obviously in the photo, it's not going to look as much different. But when it's done, the wood will be a lot smoother, and it'll be stained and everything. And people are putting like travel stickers on it, old-style travel stickers like Paris, Rome, London, or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to decorate mine a little differently. It'll have luggage tags and stickers from different airlines.
Nice. Very nice. 812-NET-HAM1 is the telephone number. If you'd like to call in and ask a kit question or a question about Hamvention, give us a call, 812-NET-HAM1, or you can Skype us at hamtalklive, or you can tweet to us over there on that Twitter thing at hamtalklive. And by the way, KB8DNS has sent us a tweet from Michigan and says this will be his 12th trip in a row to Dayton, and will be at the Build-a-thon. So he'll be there with you. And so Rod says 7-3, and he's looking forward to the trip to Dayton.
Yeah, the Build-a-thon at FDIM is hosted by Rex, W1REX from Maine. And the kit this year is a combination of previous kits he's made, but he's kind of integrating them and kind of redesigning them to make it a lot more stable. And what it is a crystal oscillator and a more stable crystal oscillator that runs a frequency counter so that you can plug a crystal in and test it. And what the object is because so many people are building these Bayou Jumpers, that use the regular old style crystals, people are either taking the guts out of a crystal and then putting a modern crystal in the same case and closing it up, or they're actually grinding down the quartz element in the crystal. Like if it's just below the 40 meter band is ideal, and they sand it down a bit with the special method, and they get it to resonate on one of the popular QRP frequencies. And so what Rex is going to do is everybody is going to get to grind down their own crystals to use with this kind of a kit and test it and see what exact frequency it's on, and then obviously take home that device so that you can sand down and adjust your own crystals.
Wow.
Which I think is spectacular. Now
Very cool.
He did this with one test set. So everybody had to test from the same machine at OzarkCon about 8 or 9 years ago or so. And it was a lot of fun. And so now he's modernizing that so everybody gets to build the test set and take it home and have a couple of crystals that they've ground and can use with these Paraset type radios. And obviously these crystals, once they're ground and stuff, can be used both in the solid state version, and some people are making tube type replicas that are even more hewn towards the original. But I like the solid state one because it's a lot lighter and a lot easier to deal with. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, the Build-a-thon at OzarkCon, this one is going to be an 80-meter CW transceiver. And it's also designed by David Kripe, NM0S. And it's kind of a better version of a Pixie, much more sensitive receiver, so you can actually hear something a lot easier. And it will still have the spiral wound coils on the board, just for 80 meters, so that the output matches the FCC specs for harmonic output and so forth, and makes a bandpass filter for the input. So it's going to be a spectacular build-a-thon season.
Excellent. And we want to get into some more Hamvention stuff, but if you've got a question, we just have a few minutes left, so give us a call now at 812-NET-HAM1. That's 812-638-4261. Or tweet us over at Ham Talk Live. And again, on the questions, realize that Joe isn't the official spokesperson for DARA. He's just one of their special guests and has documented by photography tons and tons of Hamvention history. So he'll be able to answer your questions as best he can, but we're still hoping to get some of the committee on here soon. And again, before Hamvention takes place, so we can get as much information as possible that's up to date. So 812-NET-HAM1 is the number. If you want to give us a call, do that right now. And I know during the commercial we were talking, you said you want to talk a little bit about traffic and the talk-in arrangements and some changes that were going on that. So go ahead and address those, and we'll see if we have some questions for you.
All right, Neil. Well, the obvious obstacle here when you're looking at the Google map is the fact that the road that goes in front of it is 2 lanes without a turn lane or shoulder. So you're going to have some active traffic control to get things moving there correctly. And obviously the local residents are going to have to avoid that area. They said that they actually have somebody who is a professional traffic engineer, and he is working carefully on traffic patterns and ideas to get people in and out the quickest way possible, and is working with, I think they said, 4 different law enforcement agencies, including the county sheriff, the Xenia police, the people that run the park, as well as the Ohio Highway Patrol. And they're going to make an effort to make sure that traffic moves smoothly going in and out, because once again, you're bringing in 25,000 people into a county fairgrounds that previously has seen about 8,000 or more on a peak day in the county fair. So not that it can't handle it, because it will, but we're going to be needing to use the resources as best possible. And they showed me how they're going to have a group that normally is responsible for parking the cars during the county fair, and they will be pre-marking the parking area and organizing and routing the cars in so everybody gets parked as quickly as possible and gets out, gets in those wagons and on to the gates.
Very good. And then you mentioned something about talk-in?
Yeah, course 146.94 is the main DARA repeater. They may have another repeater that may or may not, we're not sure, might have some recorded messages or something. And there might be other outlets through the local broadcasters and so forth to make sure that people know what they're dealing with, because absolutely the first day or two of this thing is going to be interesting because nobody's been there. And everybody knew where they were going to Hare Arena, because each year only a small percentage, 5 or 10% or so, were people who had never been there. So here you're dealing with almost 100% of people have never been to this place. So the talk-in is going to be important, and keeping an ear out, because obviously there'll be people going the same way you are and listening to those instructions, as well as having some kind of GPS or something might be handy as well.
Yeah, everybody had their own little favorite way to get there and to get to where you wanted to go, and that's all gone now. So,
well, we're just going to have
be a learning experience.
We'll find our new favorites, and
exactly.
A lot of people are changing where they stay. My hotel is now in the Beaver Creek area, so I don't have to travel as far. If I kept my old reservation, I'd be driving an extra 25, 30 minutes each way. So it's a big difference. And so there will be people changing where they stay. Now those who stay like at UD, at the University of Dayton dorms, and the downtown hotels, they aren't any farther. It's just a different direction. It's about the same time and the same distance, and I've checked it out. And but if you're staying like in the northwest part of town because you were closer to Hare Arena, that's going to be a longer drive.
Yeah, and it looks like mine's about the same. I usually end up on the south end, and it looks like about the same.
Yeah, Miamisburg will be right about exactly the same.
Yeah. So, well, Joe, I hate to say it, but we've run out of time. We could go on and on.
Oh, yes, we could. And I enjoy working with you, Neil.
Well, I enjoy having you come on and talk about this stuff. And, of course, we'll have you back soon, and maybe we'll get more into some of the kits and that kind of thing. But thanks for coming on the show and sharing what you've learned from your visit to Xenia, Ohio, and look forward to seeing you there, if not before.
You bet. I really look forward to it.
All right. That's Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB. And that's a wrap for this week's edition of Ham Talk Live. I'd like to thank Joe and all the callers and listeners and tweeters out there in cyberspace, and invite you back next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, when George Nicholson, N4GRN, is going to be here. And I'm really looking forward to this. We've had all kinds of shows about the big DXpeditions and some of those top 10 DXpeditions, and this is the guy who does all the packing for those. This is the guy who takes care of all of the packing and logistics for Bob Alphin and several of the big DXpeditions. So looking forward to that next week. And for a list of all of our upcoming guests, be sure to visit hamtalklive.com. So for now, this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7375, and may the good DX be yours.
3, and good luck from Ham Talk Live.